What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Here's Haliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, good afternoon to you on this Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. And a busy one for you upcoming. We got a regional final Friday night. Greg Rakestraw will help us get into that. Maybe even a little college basketball conversation, too. I watched Butler last night. Butler's getting all the Pacers over there. Caitlin Clark over there. Got to play better, but they're getting them over there. And I was watching Purdue last night versus Yale. And Yale is a scrappy, incredibly intelligent bunch. And this is nothing new. I thought that was a really good game for the Boilers now post-Edie to have. But I mentioned this to Rob Blackman, who's going to join us on the show coming up tomorrow, the voice of the Boilermakers. We were going back and forth just a little bit earlier today, and I said it is like the Twilight stinking zone watching guys so easily get to the rim now. Anybody else notice that? Especially last night. It is so weird. You've been so conditioned here the past couple of years to go, yeah, they'll dribble maybe halfway and then double back or do one of those dribble all the way through and retreat. And to see guys so easily get to the rim, guards so easily get to the rim, it feels like you're in the Twilight Zone watching it last night. Boilermakers win, but that's what it felt like watching. That's what it's felt like so far, and that's just what's going to happen again in the post-Edie era. And there is a lot of making up to do. You're going to have to get a lot more consistently now. And it was first half to second half. Kind of got called out, Trey Kaufman-Renn did last night, and then stepped up and played much better in the second half. You know, obviously, Braden Smith still plays at a high level, but consistently with Kaufman-Renn, consistently with Fletcher Lawyer. Had a couple of new guys last night give him something. I thought that Miles Colvin stepped up a couple of different times, but it is just a huge change in trying to watch him now compared to what you know of the past couple of years. And obviously that is also on the offensive end, but I just noticed it last night, and I just felt like Yale got to the basket, got to the rim whenever they wanted. And that is just a far cry from what we have witnessed with the Boilermaker program defensively in a while. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. That's tomorrow's stuff, a little college basketball with Rob Blackman, the voice of the Boilermakers. And Purdue on the schedule last night with a win over Yale. Butler on the schedule last night and still has a lot to work out with that modest group, no doubt about that. But a lot of Pacers in the house, Caitlin Clark in the house. So, yeah, you've got some folks going out to Hinkle Fieldhouse for the Dogs this particular year. And we got a lot more to hit today. We'll find out exactly with those rankings in the top 12 where the Hoosiers are going to be now. We know, at least nationwide as of Sunday, they are 5th ranked. We'll see where they go in the projections once again. We'll get the projections of the projections for you over the course of the afternoon. I promise you that. I think we all need the projections of the projections. I will talk about the Colts. I know a lot of you are worn out on the particular subject, but coordinators met with the media a little bit earlier today, and I would agree. Bob Kravitz is going to join us a little bit later on in the show at bobkravitz.com, and he had mentioned with one certain thing Gus Bradley said that he stated and answered a question in such a fashion that you wish maybe Shane Steichen would have done that. I mentioned yesterday, it is amazing to me to see somebody in the eyes of the fan base, and I'm just talking about the fan base here, take such an incredible fall from grace. It wasn't that long ago when the fans remarked that he was a genius. It wasn't so long ago when fans talked about him being the next great offensive head coach that could transition into the next great coach. The gamesmanship or the cat and mouse stuff that we talk about, just how brilliant he was at that. And all it's taken is a little bit of, unfortunately, what we now have been understood and come to know more consistently than ever. A little bit of mess up. I think somebody said when I called it foobar, I think somebody mentioned it was like snafu and broke that down. And shout out to whoever sent that to me on Facebook. But that's how I describe everything. Now he's swept up in it. Remember last year when he would make these fourth down calls? For example, calls that he made against the Browns, pass play against the Browns, situational stuff that he would do that would go against the grain. And everybody would not take away his genius status, but they would suggest that he's just way too aggressive and that's his nature and you're going to have to deal with it. Now all that's changed. And I thought Jake asked me a good question during our crossover segment a moment ago is, how do you dig out of that? How do you dig out now of being swept up with the rest of the organization that a lot of people want to sweep out? It's just kind of what I talk about with Anthony Richardson. What's it going to take? What's it going to take for you to believe in this team again? You're going to have a sustainable high level of play that I don't think any of us believe that they're capable of giving, of putting out. They will give you moments. Jonathan Taylor gave you moments on Sunday. But they're just that. They're just moments. And you're, again, in that state where you just sit around and you wait for things to come crashing down. You sit around and you wait for the negative, whether it's a play on the field or a decision being made off of it. You just sit around and you wait. That's the sign of a horrific spot. And 2 games under 500, or, as Shane Steichen mentioned yesterday, still in the thick of things, mathematically speaking, fine. But again, you look at this team, and how much do you believe they roll into the Meadowlands? And even with a Jets team that can be equally as bad. You believe they can do that or will do that? Do you believe they're going to do that at home against the Lions? And I am all for, because you guys play it to me all the time, when I must win different games early in the season and you tell me how much season's left, and I say it's not so much about the season, it's about the team that you need to take care of, that you're capable of beating, and others that seemingly you don't look so capable of beating. And there's a difference there. It's called taking care of your business. You wanted to see them take care of their business in week 2 in Green Bay because there was no Jordan Love. And Green Bay went at them and really hit them where you thought they were at their strongest. And in fact, I'll give them credit. That's where they've been their strongest here recently, up front. Yeah, finally. You get a healthy DeForest Buckner. You get Grover Stewart making some plays. All of a sudden, that has become now worthy of what we talked about or how we described it in the offseason or training camp leading up. But when I bring up must-wins and they're earlier and they're week 2 and they're week 1, what I'm telling you is you got to take care of this. That Houston game, you got to take care of that. I know they won the division last year. I know that they're a better team. And since that point in time have gone through a lot of injuries, especially one being that of Stephon Diggs. But at home, take care of it. Get all off season to prep for it. So that comes to mind. Crapwater, Jacksonville comes to mind. So there is a method in this madness, and the method is take care of the business that you are capable of. They're going to say, well, we're capable of doing it all. Yeah, clearly you're not. Clearly you're not. So take my advice as a fan or even as a colleague and or media member. There are some games that are more worthy of you getting and some that you're probably just going to be incapable of getting. And that's a part of it. And again, that's the method to the madness, whether you like it or not. And the Colts have left a great deal, regardless of the situation, on the table. But getting back to Shane Steichen for a moment, he was described as, a Don Shula-like from Jim Irsay. He could do nothing wrong. Even when he made those errors in judgment last year, you described it as him being too aggressive, and he'll learn. And now think about the thought toward the head coach. It's just amazing how quickly, how rapidly this whole thing has fallen in terms of the fans. And I know not every media member is like that. I mean, hell, the Colts may not even feel that way right now, especially Jim Irsay, because let's just face it, that's the one that's really, truly going to matter. And if they decide, to make changes, because really what you got right now is a two-prong effect that's going to go wrong for Chris Ballard. As I maintain, it's not that this team make the postseason with Joe Flacco, for example, that would sustain another year of Ballard here. To me, it's more of proving or having the guy prove it to everybody else out there that you did not completely waste a 4th overall selection. That, to me, is the savior. And that's why when you look at it, when people want to blend, like Jeff Saturday kind of pointed the finger at Chris Ballard. And I think that's inaccurate. Chris Ballard should want to be playing Richardson. Chris Ballard should want to see him. I know everybody wants to make the postseason, but it is more important for this guy to be the right guy. And clearly right now, I think everybody is probably on the lean, just like I am, of him not being the guy. Even if you have a small or a too small sample size, fair. I'm just telling you, and others will tell you how we feel right now about it. From what we have seen, you would have to be stinking crazy to believe that. Or just with your super fan blinders on. That doesn't mean he shouldn't be out there. I'm all for somebody giving you a better opportunity, but let's just face it, the last 2 weeks, there has not been a better opportunity. The guy in Richardson that would come in may not do any better, but what you're doing with the 39-year-old sure as hell not working right now, is it? Again, that goes back to what Jake and I were talking about during the crossover segment. It seems like every decision they make now is wrong. And certainly every decision they make is going to be viewed until further notice by most people as inbound inaccurate. Oh, here it comes. This is not going to work out either. It is a level of non-believability that most people around here have dealt with for a long period of time. And it was asked of me how they dig out of that. Now, longer term, it's going to be consistency in winning. But short term right now, you're going to have to dazzle some folks. Got to dazzle them. Remember that moment in Parenthood where Steve Martin's trying to feel that he's going to put more into his job? You got to dazzle me. Remember Dave, his boss? I need to be dazzled. Now, this is not something where you can just go with Steve Martin and do the normal thing, even though the normal thing is at that moment maybe good enough. You're going to have to dazzle because there are way too many people on the other side that go, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we've seen the 60-yarder before, but we've also seen the 44% completion percentage. We have seen that. So now you're going to have to make a splash that you just feel that the player and this team is unworthy of doing. It'd be great. Be a great story. But does anybody out there believe that that has even a shred of a possibility to happen? Probably not. Coordinators met with the media today. We shall discuss. I've got an interesting question that was lobbed at me, again, during that crossover. I'll get to that coming up in just a minute. Pacers off today, flight to Orlando. They take on the Magic down in Orlando coming up tomorrow. Coverage right here on The Fan. I did want to remind you, Thursday, we have our Larceny Bourbon Locks and our Luna Azul Tequila shots for Week 11. I mean, that's good enough. But Pacers General Manager Chad Buchanan is going to join us for a couple of segments live at the District Tap. So if you want to come out and check that out with Chad Buchanan hanging out with us, he's been wanting to for a while, and I thought, man, now is the time to get him out with us. Chad Buchanan, and I don't know at what time. I think he said he'll roll over there at some point between 3 and 6, which I think is very savvy. Yeah, it's funny. You didn't feel that way. Like 3-4 years ago regarding the Pacers, you go, oh, yeah, here we go again. That's how you feel about the Colts right now. Now the Pacers are in a spot to where they make decisions and you automatically believe in them. Am I wrong about that? You automatically believe in them. Because, again, they have made decisions that have been accurate. And that is certainly a top of mind. It's funny. I was talking to, I think it was Eddie White in the press box on Sunday for a moment. I said, there is not anything out there. And believe me, I'm not trying to be a cheerleader or anything like that for the Pacers, but I have not wanted to see something work so much in a long time. And that is the run-it-back mentality they have with this group. I want them to be somewhat of a trendsetter. You can make the argument that Denver has done, a little bit of the same, but they also have a couple of time MVP as a lead role there. You can argue that Minnesota, to a degree, is also doing it, but just past off season, right before the start, they decided to go and make that deal with New York. So they've subtly changed things a little bit. But I want to see this run-it-back mentality work. I want to see them digging. It's like Kingpin. It's like when Ishmael is going to bowl more frames than what you normally do in bowling because you have to, if you're Amish, you got to show more than just do what others do. You got to do it twice as much, right? And I've always felt that way about teams around here, and especially with the Pacers. You not only have to do it, and it has to work, but you have to leave no doubt in the process. It has to work to where, oh, wow. And I'd love to see this be a trend on putting together your team, whether it's drafting or trading, or, the occasional usage of free agency. I would like to see that work and then bring them all back. Not have to go out and make 2 massive deals as the Knicks did and still have your head coach run that group into the ground. Massive deals. I guess Boston, to a degree, they hung with their 2 guys. They've made some moves. Brad Stevens made some moves, but I think you could argue that, for the most part, obviously Marcus Smart was a guy on the grassroots level. He is now out of there. But they still have their top 2. I wouldn't call it any more building within. Now, they did stay relatively the same this particular offseason. I don't know if they had much of a choice in doing so. But for the Pacers, I really want to see that work. And here's part of it. It's been told of you, the whole run-it-back mentality with the Colts so many times and how it hasn't worked. Then a lot of you automatically believe what the Pacers are doing right now aren't going to work just on that basis alone, which is unfair. So I told that to Eddie in the press box. I've not wanted to see something work, and that's why that was before that Knicks game. And in the worst game of the year, if you watch them on Friday in Charlotte, it was just mind-numbingly bad. Every bit as good as Tyrese Haliburton was on Sunday, certainly against the Knicks. There was a stretch to where you couldn't believe it. He couldn't inbound the ball. And I know that everybody's going to go through a bad spot, and everybody needs a pick-me-up. Everybody needs a shot of confidence sometime. And really, most of these high-level athletes just are overflowing, overwhelmed with confidence, so you don't need to go create it yourself. You already have it, and that's just how they're built. That's what makes them great, and that's what makes you and I, you and I. But on Friday night, there are some moments in which really team-wise, but Tyrese looked like he never played before. And that got you wondering if you were ever going to see, because it was about this time last year when Tyrese Haliburton and that image of a high-level player was being constructed. About this time last year, you get started in November and get ready for the Emirates NBA Cup or play-in or in-season or whatever the hell that it is. That's about the same time all that got officially underway with Tyrese Haliburton. And you're hoping that Sunday was that springboard because you've got a couple of things working in your favor, Pacer fans. One is that Haliburton had the type of game that's necessary for everybody. And as I mentioned, he has to not only go out and get his, you want him to at a high clip, but he has to orchestrate and make it easier for everybody else. And what else makes it easier for his teammates would be the step up of Bennedict Mather. Something everybody has been talking about, wondering. Many have suggested that he was never going to be a fit here, which I don't know how anybody could ever say that, but it was said, and it was stupid. And I love it because he's different than everybody else. You watch, McConnell always, after nice wins, will interrupt JJ talking with the walk-off interview after the game, and he kind of interrupts and gets in there and says something. Everybody else kind of plays along, and Matherin, Matherin's not about playing, unless you're talking about basketball. He's not about messing around. He's hardcore, and that's legitimate hardcore. And that is awesome mixture that they have. They got fun-loving guys that enjoy playing and certainly enjoy playing with one another, and one incredibly hardcore dude who hopefully now is starting to blossom. And I really want to see this run it back work, because in the minds of so many of you out there, especially with what we have witnessed in the past with the Colts, it hasn't. And you're apprehensive to buy it. Pacers Orlando coming up tomorrow night, back at home against the Heat. That is on Friday night. Chad Buchanan, the general manager, is going to join us live at the District Tap coming up on Thursday. Also, too, we're going to do Week 11 of our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. We are going to do that for another $1,000 gift certificate courtesy of Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Go ahead and log on, and I'll let you know when they put the game's up, and you can participate once again. We're going to do this for the next 2 weeks as well. Dan Moyer was thrilled with how you guys responded to it. So a couple of more of those $1,000 gift certificates from Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. That is going to be all a part of our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots coming up on Thursday. The District Tap on the north side, where Pacers general manager Chad Buchanan will join us over the course of the show. All right, so we got that and more for you today. I mentioned Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Bob Kravitz also going to join us on the show. Flying Toasters in Anderson. We've got tickets for what is a great local band coming up on the 16th. We shall give away as well over the course of this show. Oh, yeah, too. Bud Light Blue Friday, Whiskey Business, Southside, Southport Road. Lions, Colts tickets to give away. There will be a mess of Lions fans in the building. That is Bud Light Blue Friday, Whiskey Business, Southport Road, Southside. That is coming up on Friday. Other than that, little IU football, we'll find out. We'll project the projections for you coming up a little bit later on, too. Maybe a little bit of that conversation with Greg Rakestraw. We'll zone in on the regional finals coming up. A lot of local interest and a lot of freshness going on, too, which is kind of cool. A lot of new teams in new places, but it has been incredibly exciting to watch. That and more coming up with Greg. We've got Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com also on the way, and we continue to follow stories regarding the Colts leading up to this matchup with the Jets on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Also, this reminder, our Colts pregame huddle will be live at the Back 9 beginning at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. Back 9 viewer watch party. Back 9, Colts pregame huddle with us. We will start at the Back 9 off of Drover and Morris coming up on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. All right, 239-1070. Email address is jmv at 1075thefan.com. Inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. We'll get into you as well. If you want to become a AAA member, do so today. But hello to everybody there. The stream, the app, HD radio, and just getting started on what is going to be a busy, stinking Tuesday, too. And the wraps on Week 10 with Monday Night Football. That and more coming at you. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ding dong.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
JMV, I never thought I'd be saying this, but thank God we have IU football in Indiana. Colts are a dumpster fire on the verge of complete implosion. Pacers fever basketball giving me hope for professional sports in Indianapolis. Elk Dog wrote that. Royce in with this. It seems after the last 2 weeks of Oh No Joe, what AR isn't come early, stay late quarterback based on he's sticking with Joe. I don't know what type of lesson we're trying to learn or is being taught here, Royce. But damn. It makes you laugh a little bit, doesn't it? I know they're still in it. They're 2 games under 500, and mathematically it says they're still in it. Eyeball-wise, it looks like they're about as far away from it as you can get. Truth. Back to that in a second. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Our friend Greg Rakestraw is in on this Tuesday. Hello, Greg.
Hello, sir.
How about this IU football program? What is your prediction of the projections that will be forthcoming this evening?
I think they'll probably be the 6th or 7th seed would be my guess, which is rather remarkable.
It is remarkable. What is the most remarkable thing about this football team in what is a season for the ages for IU football fans?
The fact that you almost felt disappointed or let down that they beat Michigan in the fashion in which they did, and that it was actually a close game. When you go, wait a minute, we're actually judging a win against Michigan, which was like the second time in the last quarter century to 30 years to 40 years that they actually beat Michigan. We're somehow let down because it was a single-digit win against the defending national champs, and that can be somehow viewed as a disappointment. That's how quickly IU football has turned in the span of 10 games played, John.
I believe the latest projections from Fox has IU in the 6th hole against the 11th seed Ole Miss. That is, just seeing this in front of me right now is absolutely incredible. Incredible.
Frankly, the fact that Indiana and Ole Miss are both in the playoffs.
I know.
To be honest with you.
I know. Well, no, obviously being around here forever, it is more noted for that. But my goodness. And I thought the overhead shots in and around Bloomington, where you saw a lot of Greene County in the distance on CBS on Saturday afternoon, it was fantastic.
As great as the overhead shots were, my guess would be you might be a small percentage of people that would have gone, hey, look, there's Greene County.
Yes.
Not to besmirch Greene County in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
I thought I saw the Owensburg Water Tower in the distance. Maybe I didn't.
I'm sure. Is it the Tulip Trestle? Am I naming it properly?
No, the Tulip Trestle.
In terms of the long railroad span that is elevated in Greene County?
If I told you that once upon a time I went across that on a motorcycle, would you believe me?
Absolutely, 1,000%. That sounds like something that you would do, yes.
See, I've said that before, and the CSX people always get mad at me. So even today.
Don't do that, kids. But yes, I'm sure John did that at one point in time.
Don't do that, kid. Listen, I will be honest with you. When I grew up, about 90% of the things we did, we'd all go to jail for now. There's no question. Yeah. So I mean, 90%.
You took it to an Evel Knievel level. But think about how us rednecks would spend so much time in the back of a truck while it was moving at a high rate of speed and not to go next door either. Like to go several miles down the road, how that was a thing you didn't think anything twice anything of. Now, SWAT teams would be called on you for doing something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the basic stuff.
And everybody would go to jail. Everybody in the driver would be in prison, I think, after that now. So.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it would. Greg Rakestraw is joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Where do you want to start? We go LN Brownsburg coming up on Friday, regional final. That's pretty sweet right there. And what a season for LN. We talk about at IU, what's going on down there. What an incredible Renaissance season going on the north side there at LN, too.
And the thing is that the time frame as to when you would compare this to, although now we've gotten – past that point in any other IU football season. But, I've tried when we talked about the Indiana season to say, hey, don't forget that Bill Mallory had a couple-of-year run in the late 80s where, they were better than Michigan. They were better than Ohio State. It was Michigan State.
Yeah.
It was a team they couldn't get past. For LN, they have now hit the point of where the 89 team that was an 11-0 going into the regional round of the tournament was, and that was kind of their stopping point against Carmel. Again, Brownsburg will be as good of a team as they have faced all season long. Had Brownsburg not tripped up against HSE in week number 9, this would be, Brownsburg being the number 1 team in the state and LN trying to catch them. Let's see if Brownsburg can maybe kind of finish off what Cathedral could not do, because Brownsburg, big and physical on both lines. Can LN outquick them offensively? And defensively is where LN won the game on Friday night. I knew that Cathedral, because they're so well coached and they play a unique defense, the 3-5-3, LN did not decipher that well. They survived 3 first-half interceptions, but because their defense literally outscored Cathedral, with Breck Mallory having an interception return for a touchdown in the first half, then a scoop and score in the second half, it allowed them to become a pretty average offensive night for them. And then, kind of time and score and situation dictated that LN kind of, curtail a little and pull it back a little bit offensively, because, again, the LN defense knocked the quarterback from Cathedral out of the game in Cameron Coors. And a word that I used in terms of doing the broadcast on Friday night that I don't often say in high school football, punishing. That's what the Lawrence North defense was in watching them play on Friday night. So I think it's the speed of LN against the power of Brownsburg, and should be a fantastic game in the land of Mike Wells and Kyle Nedderip as I'm going to hang on Friday night.
He is Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Oftentimes, you get the signature moments, and they thrust you, they vault you into what turns out to be a championship season. Might that come from behind win for Brownsburg over Ben Davis and the fashion in which they came back? Could that be that launching point that I'm talking about here?
It's potentially, because there are really 4 or 5 teams that probably feel they have a legitimate shot at the 6A championship this year. It is that type of season. LN and Brownsburg are of that group. I think Westfield and Crown Point are likely of that group. I wouldn't exactly sleep on whoever wins the Center Grove Warren Central game either, because Center Grove's got a really good quarterback, and Warren Central, while they don't have the explosive offense that LN does defensively, I don't think there's anybody better in the state than what Warren Central is. And so there are multiple teams that feel that way. But yes, for Brownsburg, they have answered every regular season question. What they have not answered is the postseason question. And there was a lot of folks, probably myself included, that are watching that score go by in the first half and just kind of go, same old Brownsburg. And that wasn't the case in half number 2. So I don't think it's just a moment for this year for that program. It is potentially a moment for years to come for that program. If they can back up the Ben Davis win by beating number 1 Lawrence North, and if they can keep their season going, then, again, we're changing how we talk about an entire football program, not just 1 year.
How much should we be talking about Warren at this point with what they've accomplished, especially on the defensive side of the football, but
right.
Being 10-1, having that one game against LN in which they got handled mightily, but everything else, was right down the middle for Warren. We should be talking a little bit more about them, I would guess.
We should be about Center Grove too, but frankly, This is kind of the nature of geography for both of those two teams. You kind of set your watch to the fact these guys are going to play each other in the regional round of the tournament because they have relatively easy paths in terms of the sectional. I want to say this was the 14th in a row for Center Grove that they have won, and it's just because, again, there's not many 6A teams south of them, and the ones that are in their sectional, Franklin Central, Jason West has done some good things. Not Center Grove's level yet. Columbus North had a really good year, but kind of like Crown Point, just don't play much in the way of 6A competition during the course of the regular season. So Center Grove's going to be there. And again, Warren gets to face the teams that kind of bring up the back end of 6A in the metro area, being in the same sectional as Tech, as Perry, as Southport. So the reason I've talked about Warren that much is that we haven't had a reason to talk about them since the last game of the season when they found a way to beat Cathedral. Was a really good game in week number 9. So honestly, we're going to talk a little more about Center Grove and Warren because now they're playing each other on Friday night. We'll get a great gauge as to really who's the better of those two teams.
Decatur Central, East Central, 5A. Thoughts on that matchup Friday night?
Last year, obviously, you got a runner-up in 5A and the two-time defending champs in 4A. Last year, probably would have picked East Central. This year, I would pick Decatur Central. East Central was really stinking good last year. East Central is good each and every year. They are nowhere. They're not as dynamic as they were a year ago. East Central's in kind of a tough spot where they are by far the biggest school in their league. They don't play everybody in their league. They try to go out and play as good of a level of competition as they can. They have played Moeller. Their biggest rival is actually across the state line in Harrison. They have played Roncalli or Chittard in the last game of the regular season for most of the last 20 years, trying to get them ready for the postseason. I'm not sure they've seen anybody like Decatur Central, so far this year. So I would lean towards D.C., but if D.C. doesn't have their defense set and ready, East Central will run the ball and grind them down and try to shorten the game and try to pull the upset. Last year, you're talking about the best team in 4A against the second-best team in 5A, and I still would have picked East Central. This year, I'll go with the Hawks.
It's Greg Rakestraw with us. Man, Martinsville, what a season. Evansville Wrights getting into Morgan County coming up on Friday.
These are the four teams that we thought would be there, after a handful of weeks this season. Now, Martinsville, nearly tripped up against Greenwood, and it was a Greenwood team that, Greenwood is getting ready to exit the league they're in the mid-state. They've been in for 8 decades, just kind of acknowledging that, they're just not the size of everybody else. As Franklin and Whiteland grow, as Perry is in that league at 6A, because of, Decatur Central seemingly is on their way to 6A in the not-too-distant future. But Greenwood and Martinsville, the two teams in the mid-state that were in that sectional, not surprisingly, they were the two teams left standing. So Martinsville may have avoided a slip-up last week by losing to the Woodmen. Maybe they were overlooking Greenwood, thinking about this one. That should be a good game, but the other great game in 4A South is Chittard and New Pal. And a lot of folks might think that the 4A championship gets decided in that regional game coming up on Friday night.
Yeah, others here in the area, Tri-West on the road at Batesville in 3A on Friday night. Lutheran Lapel 2A coming up on Friday night too. Sheridan South Putt also a part of what is going to be an incredibly busy schedule, not just here in central Indiana, but around the state of Indiana. Greg Rakestraw will help document it all for you coming up on Friday and throughout the rest of the way. He's with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and I'll hear from you. I got 2 more remaining of the JMV Takeover, just 2 in Season 4.
Well, thank you, by the way, for the fresh prints from the all-90s evening. From either 92 or 93, I'm losing track of the years. But
that was a pretty good run of things. Did you like the run of things that played right there in that little window after 9?
It was tremendous. I felt that my request was worthy of the litany of fantastic songs, of bangers that you were playing during the Power Hour, John.
Boom, boom, shake, shake the room was the song right there. Well done.
I made some good memories in high school to the handful of classmates I was not related to in Lanesville with that song, John. So thanks for letting me relive those memories.
You got it, buddy. I'll talk to you on Saturday.
See you, pal.
Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Bob Kravitz, bobkravitz.com, top of the hour. Flying Toasters tickets. That's coming up on November the 16th up in Anderson. I've got tickets for it. Going to be a great event. That is a great band. I want everybody to go check them out. Not just Madison County here, but everybody. You will love them, I promise. That and locations and your chance at another $1,000 gift certificate this week from Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. I'll explain coming up. Quick one. We'll come back. Stay right there. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper. Make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So I'm going to go see an EDM artist called Wooly tomorrow night, I guess. Blake wants to go. So he wants to go, and he wants to get close to the stage, whereas I don't. I'm going to sit in some seats at a table. Shout out to Daniel and Jimmy and everybody over at Live Nation at the Mirage Egyptian Room is where we're going to be tomorrow. I think Jim McCann from Southern California sent me a little bit of something about Wooly. Have you ever heard of Wooly? Is it Wooli? Wooly?
I have never heard of him, but that sounds right.
Sacramento, California, EDM artist. How difficult is it to become an EDM artist? Because all you got to do, right, is put some beats.
I mean, so the actual song creating process is probably pretty in-depth because I've messed with some of the software, and it is pretty difficult, and it is definitely a talent. I don't know how difficult it is playing it live. I don't know if it's just them hitting a space bar.
Why don't you just play it off your computer?
I would imagine, but I don't know.
I hate to say this, but remember when Deadmau5 played at the Snake Pit? This was a couple of years ago, maybe more than a handful of years ago, out at IMS. It was incredibly hot that day, and I think his software, his computer melted.
Really?
Yeah, at the time. So I don't know. He had to go off his phone or something like that. So would that wouldn't happen with like regular bands? Like the Foo Fighters wouldn't go out and go, oh, wait a minute, we got to go off my phone now.
That wouldn't happen. You could still have stuff. I mean, if it was hot enough to melt his computer,
yeah,
it could potentially melt some of the stuff that they use for the lighting or for, maybe their amps or something. But
I don't mind it. Like, there's a guy named John Summit out of Chicago, and I kind of dig it. I like it when they put together beats, and then they get somebody with a good singing voice. Like Chris Martin of Coldplay's done this before with the Chainsmokers. Florence of Florence and the Machine's done it before with Calvin Harris, I think. I like it when they get nice voices, and even if it's not a bunch of lyrics, it could be something over and over again, but I kind of like that. John Summit, I think, is a guy out of Chicago that I don't mind. But we're going to see Wooly tomorrow. Wooly tomorrow night, and then Chris Hagan and I, a week from Friday, I think it is, a week from Friday, are going to go see the always incredibly pesky Morrissey of the Smiths.
Interesting.
He's pesky because sometimes he doesn't feel it and doesn't deal it, if you know what I mean. If he doesn't feel it, he won't deal it. He's got an attitude, or as they would say in the 80s, he's got a bit of a tude.
He's got a reputation for being a little prickly.
Yes, prickly, exactly. But I'm excited because I dig the Smiths, and I like the Morrissey stuff as well. So that's a week from Friday at the Mirage National Center. Wooly is tomorrow. EDM artist Wooly. It's from Garrett, JMV. I just opted out of my Colts season tickets, and within minutes got a call asking me to reconsider. Rep went on to say, I wonder how often this is happening right now. Because I remember how many of these I got back in 2022. It was endless. Rep went on to say that I have until January if I want back in, and I could even sell the big games and make money. Either I'm really special in Section 419 or many fans are doing the same. I'm assuming there is a protocol to make sure you don't cancel. Right? I mean, it's probably not like Jordan Belfort or anything like that, but I'm sure that there is a protocol where they do not cancel here. And that's what happens when these teams go through incredibly rough patches. And for the Colts, it's been just one enormous rough patch. So it's what you got to deal with. Garrett, thank you for that particular update. Kravitz on the other side. BobKravitz.com is going to join us. Flying Toasters, tickets, and more. Hour 2 inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. You guys are awesome. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
If peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hour 2, thank you for joining us. The Flying Toasters in Anderson coming up. I got tickets for you. Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna's Old Tequila Shots. That's week 11, Thursday. The District Tap on the north side. Our usual folks will be hanging for sure. Our betting analyst, Brent Halverson, but a special guest who once in on a live show, Pacer GM Chad Buchanan, who is, I think, one of the few out there that would be cool enough to be able to hang during a live broadcast like there. He will join us. We'll talk about the Pacers. Hopefully it's going to be a good conversation. That's going to be on the heels of their visit to Orlando tomorrow night, in between a home date Friday night with the Miami Heat. I believe that is the beginning, is it not, of the Emirates Cup or the NBA Cup or whatever the hell the in-season tournament is now called, officially coming up on Friday. So Wednesday, Friday for the Pacers this week. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, also incredibly cool enough to hang with us at a live show and has proven it in the past many a times. Bob Kravitz of BobKravitz.com is with us now. Hello, Bob.
Hello, John. How are you?
A live show is a damn good time with us, isn't it? You like it, don't you?
Yeah, we have a good time. Hey, free beer and a chance to spend time with you. I'm all over.
Oh, man. Some drinking.
Mostly the beer.
Yeah, it's not drinking. It's drankin'. Drankin'. Drankin' is what happens.
I've lived in Indianapolis now for 24 years, so I speak the language now.
well, help us out here. Can you translate what the hell's going on with Richard? Is this another chapter in an ongoing saga of what the hell the Colts doing once again here? Is that what it is?
It's just mismanagement, and it's been this way for quite some time, and that's why I have written and will continue to write that unless they somehow find their footing and reach the playoffs, I don't think Chris Ballard should be back. He's had how many years since Andrew left?
I think it's called too many. Right? Too many, I think, is what it's called. Yeah. This is year 8.
5. Yeah. Well, it's year 8 for him, but how many years since the luck?
What, 5?
He's had 5 years to get it right. He got it right, sort of, with Phillip Rivers, but other than that, it's been a cluster. And I just don't think he has earned the right to come back and try it for a 9th year.
I saw Jeff Saturday, Bob, yesterday, and it was a podcast. He was kind of pointing the finger at Ballard. It's at least how I translated that as, they're making this move to save his gig with Flacco. However,
I don't get that.
I don't either, because what saves his ass is if Richardson is something. What sinks him even more than he's sunk right now is if you just completely screw up the 4th overall selection, which now clearly they have.
That's exactly right. I mean, either he made a mistake in picking Richardson 4th, a guy who they said would have been their pick if they had the first pick in the draft, or they've mismanaged his time here. Either way, I mean, when a guy fails as miserably as he has, not necessarily on the field but off the field, that's a reflection of the organization that hired him, that drafted him, and I think it's a repudiation of the way they've tried to develop this quarterback, and they have failed miserably for 5 years trying to fill that spot. And I understand it's hard to find a franchise quarterback. We here in Indianapolis, we're incredibly blessed to have 18, 20 years of elite quarterbacking, but they're in a division that's been winnable for a lot of years, and the fact they haven't won a single division, I just don't see how you can sell Chris Ballard to this fan base one more year beyond this year.
I think they've also put themselves in a situation, and who knows what they're really thinking, but let's just say, for example, we'll take them at their word, which is dangerous territory, and they do have plans on running Richardson out there next year and going with him. Speaking of something that the fan base won't buy into, there's another level of it right there.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact if Flacco stinks it up again against New York, and Steichen comes back next Monday in his Zoom press conference and said, we're staying with Joe, he gives us the best chance to win, then we know something is very, very wrong. Either Richardson doesn't get it. I mean, look, the Colts had to know that they were going to look like a bunch of idiots if they benched Richardson, and yet they did it anyway. So that tells me that, there's something going on here. As media people, we think we know to a certain level, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. So, either they picked the wrong guy or they mishandled the guy that they drafted, one of the two. And either way, it's a bad reflection on the organization.
So Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So do you think this was fully on Steichen? Do you think it was fully on or a part of Ballard or any influence at all from Ballard and Irsay?
Well, what I've been told, and again, I mean, this may not be right, but I've been told that this is not a Jim Irsay production the way as it was in 2022 when he mandated that Matt Ryan be benched in favor of, God help us all, Sam Ehlinger. But yeah, I think this is a Steichen move. I think he's trying to prove something to the young quarterback, to Anthony, trying to get him to figure out what it means to be a professional. And maybe in the long run this works out well for him. Maybe the light goes on. I don't know. That's what they're counting on. But if Flacco plays poorly, as I was mentioning before, and they come back with Flacco yet again for the Detroit game, that tells me they've given up on this kid for this year at least.
So do you think that this comes down to him being, for a time, too much, Bob, if you will, the last one there and the first one to leave? I mean, they've pointed to professionalism and leadership and things that he has to learn by watching, all of which he should have learned last year by watching, which evidently he didn't, which is an indictment on a different level of all of them and their 22-year-old quarterback. But does it just simply come down to that in honestly his professionalism, or there has to be something deeper to take it as far as it's been taken here, has there not?
I think it's professionalism. I mean, it's off, stuff that comes down to preparing yourself individually, whether that's taking care of your body or watching a lot of film. Look, they would not have made this move. I mean, I'll give them credit for not being complete morons. This was not a performance-based decision. I don't believe. I mean, they were 4-4 with him. He had a couple of moments. He had the one game against Houston where he made three passes over 50 yards, completed 3 passes over 50 yards. There was enough to go on. So, I mean, this is clearly stuff that, while it's related to football, it's not related to what he did in those games necessarily.
So Bob Kravitz on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So do you think he's the guy of the future? Do you buy into that whatsoever, even an ounce?
I think if they change up in the front office, I don't know. I was going to try to give you a smart answer. And
who are they going to want to bring in here that wants to deal with that? Hey, we're going to hire a new general manager. Let's bring this guy in. Hey, by the way, here's your quarterback. Yeah, he throws at a 44% clip. What's that?
Yeah, I still think there's hope for him. I don't think they've given up on him completely. But, again, if Flacco stinks again and they don't turn to Richardson for the Detroit game, that tells you they've given up on him at least for this season. Now, what they're trying to prove, what they're trying to tell Anthony, I don't know. I mean, they've been purposefully vague about this from the beginning, and I understand that. I mean, they're not going to air all their dirty laundry, although the co-captains had no problems doing that, which is another story altogether.
Well, at this point, would they have been better off just to say, yeah, we're going to bench this guy for a while because we've got a standard around here? We'd all laugh at that, but, I mean, would it be better off if you'd have said that than being vague and going about it in the fashion in which they have?
Well, the problem is that everybody just assumes, and I've assumed as well, that it's an issue of professionalism and, not working the way they want them to work. And, when there's no reason given, a lot of narratives are gonna explode, and so I think that's unfair to Anthony. I think they should be semi-honest about what's going on with Anthony, and I think people would trust them a little more. I just think there's a heavy level of mistrust between the Colts and their fan base right now, and I just think this thing is as stale as it's ever been. They ran it back with a team that finished 9-8 last year. And my whole thing was, why are you running it? I could see running it back if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Baltimore Ravens. I can't see running it back with a team that's really accomplished nothing in the last however many years. So I think it's stale. I think it's tired. And I think changes need to be made unless they go on some miraculous kind of late season run. And, as absurd as that is to say, their schedule really gets soft in the last month of the season. So you look at what Houston is doing now, they're coming back to the pack. So I've seen this before. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility, but I think it's highly doubtful.
It's Bob Kravitz of bobkravitz.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So teaching a lesson over quarterback development on somebody that has that much to develop does not seem like a strong path to take to me.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, look, they're the ones who told you from the beginning, be patient. Yeah. Be patient. It's going to take time. He's a kid who's played, 13 games in college. And it seems like the people who are not being patient are the Colts themselves. Now, having said that, there's a lot that we don't know. And as journalists, you hate to admit that, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we are not aware of, or at least that I'm not aware of, I should say. And I think they're trying to send a message to Anthony and to the team that everybody's going to be held accountable. And just because you're the fourth pick in the draft and you're supposed to be the quarterback, the franchise guy of the future, doesn't mean you get to, be less than committed to your job.
So Bob Kravitz with us right here. What do you think Steichen's position is right now with the court of public opinion? Because I've maintained this. He has gone from near genius to where he is right now in the eyes and the minds of Colts fans in basically a month or so. It's been an amazing fall.
Well, I mean, I think this is largely a Shane Steichen production. Where Ballard is on this, I don't know. I'm assuming that they are of the same accord on this. But, no, I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, he has the advantage that he knows he's going to be back next year. That's not an issue. Maybe he truly thinks he could get more out of Flacco than he could Richardson. But, I've seen the games too. And while Richardson was obviously pretty awful at 44% completion mark, I think Anthony gives them as good a chance to win as Joe Flacco does at this point, which is to say very little.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you mentioned that he's easily back, so you factor in just because there's zero way if this continues to go the way that it has gone that Chris is going to be back. I think we can both recognize that. I mean, that pumpkin I should say that carriage will turn into a pumpkin at midnight whenever the season is over. That's the expectation here. But you would take the split general manager, split head coach thing? The GM not hiring? We've been through that before. There's no repercussions of getting a new player personnel head, new general manager for the head coach here whatsoever?
Well, I think if they bring somebody in, they're going to bring in somebody who believes in Anthony Richardson. You know, whether that's Louis Riddick or, you know, I'm just talking about guys I've seen on TV who
he does believe in him, yeah.
About AR. But, you know, they're going to bring in somebody who believes in AR, who thinks the future is bright for him. So, yeah, I mean, they're not going to even think about somebody who wants to start all over yet again. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, this seems like a faulty path regardless of how you look at it right here. It just does.
No doubt about it. I mean, like I say, when somebody fails at their job, it's not only a reflection on the person who failed, but it's a reflection on the people who hired you and who tried to develop you. And I think the Colts bear as much culpability here as Anthony, if not more. I mean, Anthony's 22 years old, and God, I don't even want to think about what I was like at 22. But to be brought in and be expected to be the CEO of an organization with as little time on task as he has had is it's a crazy expectation, I think. And look, I'm rooting for the kid, you know, and I'd like to see, you know, it's always good if the Colts are good. I mean, it's good for business. Although I got to say, chaos been pretty good for business in my neck of the woods.
Oh, has it? You can tell on your hits that chaos is better than them being good?
Oh, chaos is always a good thing. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you're a fan, you don't want it. If you're, you know, a Colts fan. But honestly, for somebody in my position, the readership is much higher when things are kind of screwed up. Oh, absolutely.
See, I maintain this, and I tell everybody that this audience wants to get behind a winner. And then when you get into hour 7, 8, and 9 of a classic gripe fest of a day here locally, that I think that tends to turn people off because there's not really many other ways that you can explain how bad are things going. And at that point, regardless of, you know, whether or not you sound, you know, the circumstances sound worse and how I'm saying it compared to the other shows, I kind of wonder if the negativity, I think around here more than any place else, Bob, tends to wear people out. It just does.
It does. But, I mean, I'm curious, you know, like when I did radio on a Monday, if the Colts lost and people were pissed off, oh, my God, the calls, it was just an avalanche of calls. And the ratings, you know, if you look at those day parts.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, when they were going 14-2 every year, it wasn't, people wouldn't get fired up. They were happy, but look, I mean, the only people who call shows or write to me or text me or whatever are people who are angry, you know, and they've got something they want to get off their chest. So I think it would be disingenuous to say, at least for me, to say that all this chaos really isn't that bad in my business, to be honest with you.
I think I've seen it all the way around here, and it may be the same in some categories, but for the most part here with me, people get tired of it at some point. And you know, people want to think that there's hope, and with hope breeds excitement, and that's kind of and plus, with hope with this program around here, I think has been fleeting for such a long time that you have a fan base that is starved for it and looking for anything. Why else would you believe right now that Anthony Richardson can really do anything? I mean, why? Because all we have seen is him throw 44% and look terrible. Why would he look at it? Now he's benched because of how he acts or lack of leadership or professionalism. I mean, they're looking for anything to believe whatsoever in him, in this organization, and unfortunately the Colts rarely, if ever, give them any level of belief.
Yeah. No, it's been that way for a couple of years. I mean, when Luck walked out the door, hope went with him, and it's been just a crap show, as you like to say.
Yes.
And I could understand it for 2 years, maybe 3 years, trying to use the Band-Aid approach at quarterback. But you put everything. You believed that this guy would have been your pick if you had the first pick in the draft, and that tells me that you don't know what the hell you're watching.
All right, Kurt Cignetti. We'll go something positive here. In IU football, unlike we have ever seen it before, I've stayed away from making this point because I want IU fans to be able to soak up the moment, not worry about the future here. But what do you think about the future as far as Cignetti is concerned after what is just a historic season? Because I hope that he is solidified and hangs and continues to build what so quickly he has this particular year. Do you believe that?
I think that he will. First of all, I think Jeff Rabjohns had this the other day on Peegs, that they are talking with Cignetti about reworking his contract. So that's the first good thing. Second thing is I think this is something sustainable, because you look at some of the guys he's got coming out for recruiting trips. I forget the one quarterback's name, but he's a four-star, five-star, whatever. He's supposed to be one of the best. I think Lewis is his last name. But they've got a lot of guys coming out. I mean, they are doing what they are doing with a bunch of guys who are 0 stars and 2 stars and 3 stars. I mean, to do what they are doing and to know that they're going to have a hellacious couple of recruiting classes now after what they have accomplished, I think this is sustainable. I think the fact that he's, 62 or 63, tells you that he's not looking to use this as a stepping stone. I mean, my God, it's the Big Ten. And, I can see him doing what Barry Alvarez did at Wisconsin, what Snyder did at Kansas State. I think those are the guys you look at and say, this is something we can keep going for a long, long time.
Nah, it's been absolutely incredible. It's almost like you're sad that they don't play this Saturday at Ohio State. You hate the fact they have a bye week, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think they got a better than puncher's chance against Ohio State, and I say that because they got the better quarterback. Now, I realize that Curtis Rourke didn't play great in this last game against Michigan. Whether the thumb is still bothering them or whether it was their front seven, which is very good. And they've got a couple of pros, including a local guy. But, no, I think they got the better quarterback, and I think they got a chance to win that football game.
Hey, Bob, one final thing before I let you go. We're going to now start seeing the Pacers that we have expected to see coming off of that Knicks win on Sunday. Was that kind of the springboard, the creation of our expectations?
I do, and I think it's the beginning of the Benedict Mathurin era. I think he's going to be a starter. I mean, I don't know how long Nembhard and Neesmith are supposed to be out, but I would guess that they're probably looking at December before they're back. And I think they have a higher ceiling with Benedict Mathurin, and the fact that he's playing so well and that he's really responded to Rick Carlisle's tough love approach, I think says a lot about Ben and the kind of player he is.
I love the no nonsense, because you got a bunch of fun-loving dudes everywhere else, and then this guy, it looks like he's not a barrel of fun whatsoever, and he just focused on one thing, and I think that's pretty cool. But his ability that we have seen so far, I still think is scratching the surface of consistency here, but it's exactly what they need and exactly what we thought that he had the potential in bringing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I was going to ask you going to go back to arguing with that guy about Myles Turner?
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah, that'd be great. It's not too tiresome.
No, should I stop?
What my philosophy is, let people say what they want to say and let them get it off their chest. If they want you to respond, I respond. If they don't specifically want you to respond, I just kind of leave it there.
Somebody had asked me, and I'm going to go here, James, in a second. I have a ton of reasons as to why I believe that's the case, but do you understand what strikes you as why so many Pacer fans, so-called Pacer fans, dislike Myles when he has been good. He's a pro. He is great for Indy. He's always wanted to be here. Fantastic ambassador, just a good overall dude, and has played, certainly once Haliburton got here, at a level in which I think everybody understands that is necessary right now. Why still the hate? You know why?
I don't know. I think they look at all the things he doesn't do. You know, they just focus on the things he doesn't do. He's not a great rebounder. He's not a big physical post presence. I got big news for you. It's not 1986 anymore. I mean,
you're reading my posts. Thank you.
No, I actually haven't. I just saw you going back and forth. But it's not 1986 and Robert Parrish in the low, or Shaq in the low post. It's fives who can shoot the three, and Myles does that as well as anybody. What's he shooting? About 40%.
40% this year. Yeah, but he can't shoot. Okay. Remember, he can't shoot. He shoots 40% from distance.
That's right. These guys, they can't shoot.
Can't shoot. See, you would argue the same. You'd do the same thing as I did. I don't know. I was just kind of laying there and felt compelled to respond. Maybe I shouldn't.
I understand. I mean, sometimes you get that way. I know you take this personally.
I do take it personally. Well, they give it to me. They give it to me personally, so they get it back personally. Personal touch is what they want. They'll get it.
There you go.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I was not going to talk about that today. And then Bob brought it up and screwed up the works. Quick one, we'll come back. Me and you the rest of the way would do some calls at 239-1070. Play off of what Bob had to say about it, all being on the shoulders of Steichen. And Steichen being safe. And this being teaching moments. Or just the understanding that the quarterback that you drafted 4th overall year before last is not at all going to be what you thought he was going to be. Quick break, we'll come back. 239-1070 is the number. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Hey, John here for the Low T Center. Low T Center means, obviously, expertise in terms of guys and the level of the testosterone. Because let's just say, for example, if it's not where it needs to be, maybe you're grumpy, lack of motivation, no drive, weight gain, all this stuff plays a role and can be caused by low testosterone. So my advice to you, much like me, is to do something.
The Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
That's what I'm doing tomorrow night, huh? Is it all like that, too? That's what I'm doing tomorrow night. Wooly?
That's Wooly.
Wooly, by the way, is, let me see what his name is. Adam Paleo. His alias is Wooly. What song was called? What was that called right there?
That was Dopamine.
I bet it was. Dance, electronic, digital, Adam Paleo, Wooly. Tomorrow night in the Egyptian Room at the Old National Center. Where's Adam from right here? Does it not say? Is he from California? Sacramento, California? Anyway, there was a taste of it last night. I should say for tomorrow night, if you dig on that. Blake wants to go, so I'm going to go sit at a table. And, I know what this is. It's called dubstep. Dubstep. See, look, I can learn. I'm 54, soon to be 55, and learning new things.
You're hip. Yeah.
Very hip. Thank you. I'm also smart enough to know this, and I'm sorry, there's no comparison right now, and it's nothing against the type of season that Colorado was having with Deion Sanders, but if anybody in their right mind believes that Curt Cignetti, to this point of the season, is not the coach of the year, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Do a history check. Do a lesson on IU football to where they are compared to where they have been. Things that are going on that have never taken place. And you tell me at this moment if there is an ounce of an argument. It's not me living in central Indiana, growing up in and around IU. It's not me saying that is me, the incredibly smart, logically thinking central Indiana talk show host, asking what the hell. 0 against Deion Sanders in the season he's having in Colorado. All right. It is good, it is strong, it is solid, but there is 0 competition, or at least let me rephrase, there should be 0 competition. As we sit here right now, the college football playoff projections for tonight, they have been projected earlier today on Fox Sports. I think it's Fox Sports College Football. And it has IU playing out of the 6-hole. And they'd be having a matchup with the 11-seed Ole Miss. Oregon, what's it got? Oregon 1, Texas 2. Is that SMU? No, BYU 3, SMU 4, Ohio State 5. I will say this, too. It is cool that you get an influence of freshness in here. You guys agree? And I know that it's made cooler because IU, a local team, doing things they've never done, is that influence. But, man, a lot of freshness there. I dig it. What'd I say? Ohio State 5, IU 6, Tennessee 7, Penn State 8, Notre Dame 9, Bama 10, Ole Miss 11. That'd be the matchup, according to this, with IU 6-11. And the 12 would be Boise State. There is such a path, even to lose. And I don't even want to bring that up because that's already defeatist mentality. And if there's one thing I think that new coach in Bloomington has taught you not to have that, there's no "oh is us," no "woe is me." There's going out and doing a job. having confidence in being able to do the job. I think there's anything that's been taught, it's that from him. Remember how crazy people thought that he was and talking in such bravado? The tone that he set. And, man, that's what it's been all about. Instilling confidence and belief to a place that with the football program has rarely ever had it. Nah, seriously, this is what makes sports so incredibly enjoyable. But come on. Cignetti not the coach of the year? Who in their right mind would not vote for him right now as coach of the year? Would you revoke immediately their college football covering status? You'd have to. Yeah, no pom-poms being waved. No motive here because it's local. The influence is the smart's real good. T. Shaw writes this: will you get as drunk for your 55th birthday as you did when the Colts played the Saints? Yeah. My God. That was so bad. That was my 50th, I think, T. Shaw. You weren't here. Oh, my God. So the Colts played on the road in New Orleans, and I went with Bullseye. And it was my 50th birthday, and the late, great Sky Point to DJ Indiana Jones took me, I had no idea where we were, took me someplace, and we walked into this building, and we walked up a couple of flights of stairs, and all of a sudden there was this dance floor, and this DJ equipment was set up, and lights were going everywhere, fog machines were going on, and they started bringing the hurricanes. And I go, man. So like I normally would, I dove into it, and I have never been so hungover in my life.
That's the hurricanes for you.
That's what it is. It's the sugar.
Oh, yeah.
It is absolutely the sugar. I went to a soul food kitchen that morning, and I just went, I'm going to get all the carbohydrates in my body I can. And it was red beans and rice. It was grits. It was all, and everything. Because I had to do the Colts pregame show. Mm-hmm. And I did it from Bullseye. They were in a building right next to the Superdome on the 6th floor. And I called the staff here at about 2 p.m. and said, I can't raise my head. I don't know. I did half of it like with my head laying on a pillow on the floor. It was incredible.
What year was that? 2019?
I think so. Yeah, 2019, December 2019. Yeah.
So the Colts lost 34-7 that day.
Yeah, it was one of the worst games of all time.
Yeah.
I remember that. That to me was akin. You guys remember if you grew up in the 90s, right? The ice beer phase we all went through. And I know still that there are some ice beers around. So we used to chug Ice House, which is a horrible choice because if it gets you, that has more alcohol, so it would get you there quicker. I mean, we don't have any money, so we're buying either cheap beer or the ice beer that has more alcohol in it per volume. And the one thing after you would go Ice House would be the worst hangover of all time. And this hangover was worse than any of those. And I don't think it was me being 50 that couldn't cope with it. I think it was the sugar and the hurricanes, and I was an absolute mess.
I mean, being 50 probably didn't help that situation.
I'm not even going to put that on me being old and 50. There was no bounce back in my game whatsoever. You should have seen me at the Soul Food Kitchen. I was eating that. I said, just bring all your carbs to this guy right here.
Is it carbs or is it protein?
The hell, I don't know. I just went with carbs. Now I'd go with protein. Yeah. Now maybe I would learn something and go with protein. But I did. I bet I had a plate of red beans and rice that was this high.
You would just eat a big bowl of tuna and
of cheese grits.
Cottage cheese, yeah.
I just ate a big bowl of cheese grits. It was a great time, and it also it still remains special to me because I was with DJ Indiana Jones, and it's we were together. A couple of times after that, but that certainly is a void. Such a void, not just with our friendship, but just in this community right now that is so incredibly missed. And that it was all fun. And when I had a lot of fun, normally DJ Indiana Jones, I mentioned Tyrese Haliburton orchestrating. He was the orchestrator of my fun. When we go on the road with the Colts, it's always, hey, I'm going to take you here. And I go, oh, where the hell are we going? But it always ended up being fun. And no doubt. He orchestrated that, and we miss him today as dearly as we certainly have over the past, what has it been now, 4+ years? No doubt about that. Did I have cornbread? Hell yeah, I had cornbread. I mean, anything. I said anything. I bet James, I gained 15 pounds just before I went down in the pregame. I mean, I just ate. It was incredible. And I still couldn't shake it, man. Couldn't shake it. All right, hey, more hungover stories from the host of the show. No, not really, but we'll take a break, come back. Got a lot of time for you in the 5 o'clock hour. If you're on hold, I'm going to get to you. If you're not, get there at 239-1070. A lot has been going on. We'll get to that coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
the direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And the Bears fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, earlier today. And I'm sure that is probably the groundwork that's going to be laid that Matt Eberflus won't make it out of this either by the end of the season. Very disappointing things, and especially recently offensively. And really, that argument goes all the way back to the start of the season, all the way back to when the Bears were here. But they made that move, and they now have a different offensive coordinator, and Shane Waldron is out. I mentioned the college football playoff projections coming up later on tonight. Going to be interested to see, again, if any of the projections are going to be even close to accurate. Corey writes this, JMV, did I hear that right a little bit earlier? The Colts are promoting selling season tickets on the secondary market to make money as a way to keep ticket holders from canceling. Corey, I read to you what Garrett had to say by talking to an operator. And that's what he said when he was going to cancel, and that was the response that was given to him. Other than that, that is what I know. JMV, it's awesome that you're hanging out with Blake tomorrow night to see Wooly. I'm thinking Blake is 100% cool if you're chilling at a table while he's up front. Well, you heard whatever that was. I'm not going up there. But I will support that. And try to have some fun at the same time. Should be a good time. JMV, are you really going to see Morrissey a week from Friday? I am really going to see Morrissey with Hagen, I believe we're going to go see Morrissey. Hey, JMV, have you seen this? Ryan Grigson, when fired, 49-31, 2 division championships. Chris Ballard, currently 56-67-1. How is he surviving this? Well, he's not going to this season, but especially if the quarterback thing is working the way that it's not working right now. But above all else, yeah. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Greg's going to lead on the other side where we have a full hour to converse regarding the Colts, their matchup in the future, Week 11 against the Jets, where they're going from here as well. That Pacers Magic tomorrow night. We can dive into some more college basketball, college football, and the college football playoff projections, which are coming up later on tonight as well. And the Pacers got some good news regarding Obi Toppin a little bit earlier today. I shall explain. Hour 3 and your calls at 239-1070 are next.
The Ride with JMV.
Ahoy, Ploy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, James going with the Young Turks re-entry right there from Rod Stewart. All right, I got time for you in the 5 o'clock hour, so you want to sink in with some casual conversation about a variety of things, including the Colts on an off day today. I guess the coordinators did meet with the media a little bit earlier. Yeah, nothing too big coming out of that other than I will play for you coming up this hour the response that Gus Bradley had to Kenny Moore and what Kenny Moore had to say after the loss on Sunday to the Bills in the post-game locker room. That is coming up. Flying Toasters tickets to give away, too. Did want to remind you, tomorrow's show at this time, Rick Venturi is going to join us for an extended period and give us his thoughts on a variety of things so far this season. Rick Venturi tomorrow is with us in the 5 o'clock hour. On Thursday, District Tap, Northside, Clearwater Crossing, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, week number 11. And I have somehow coaxed Pacer General Manager Chad Buchanan into joining us live at the District Tap. So we'll see how that goes and see how quickly he finds out that his judgment simply just needs to be a little bit better. But me and betting analyst Brent Halverson, I don't normally hear, you guys are all asking about Gina and Lindsay. They normally tell me, well, I mean, you can imagine. Gina says about 5 minutes, hey, I'm on the way, and then gets there 35 minutes late. But normally it's right before the show when I learn whether or not they are going to be there. It's just always an expectation. So we shall see. I love that. Yeah, JMV. Did you wake up this morning and decide you needed to argue with somebody about Myles Turner? No, I don't want to do that anymore. I just felt compelled. There wasn't an argument. There was me, what do you call it now? To be cool, do I have to say spitting facts? It was me fact spitting. Just giving you facts. Spitting facts.
I believe the kids, the youth, they say no cap these days.
No, what's that mean?
That means
no cap?
You're not lying.
Oh, no cap. Yeah, no cap. People feel compelled to send stuff to me like that. And then all I did was counter it. And then this guy got bent out of shape. And then came back, and then I countered. And then some guy said, I'm so sick and tired of it. I think we should just do this, and he should just shut up. So, hey, listen, I don't want to say angry. I don't get angry. But there's some things that disappoint me, too. I'll give you a great example. What did I just say last week? Well, he turned his ankle. Had that ankle situation that caused him to miss the Boston game, then came back against New Orleans, and it was tiptoe time. What I want out of him is what also makes this team the best it can be. And I want the confidence. I don't want the things aren't going well and everybody can see it stuff. That's what I want. And my entire argument has been the fit. I think the counter was, well, he doesn't post up and he did it, it's not Vern Fleming going to dribble down the floor and post feed Steepo. All right? That's not what's going to happen here. That's not the style in which they play. And there is nobody better right now, nobody more equipped to play the style in which they want to play than he is. And I'm just talking about offensively. Is he Akeem Olajuwon? No, I don't think anybody's ever said that. But he also is a fantastic fit for a team that has had here recently, since they went out and got Tyrese Haliburton, a lot of success doing what they're doing with him. So why would you blank around with that? It's easy to see, but I guess on the other hand, you just kind of get mad. And he's always kind of the guy that you hard target when you get mad about stuff. It's never Haliburton, and Haliburton had a rough patch. It's never anybody else when they have a rough patch. But I guess I get it by now. But there's no cap. Is that what I need to say? Not spitting facts? No cap. Whatever the hell that is. So thank you very much. Meantime, 239-1070 is the number. Let's start with Greg right here in the 5 o'clock hour. Greg, thank you for the call. How are you?
Doing great, John. How about yourself?
Are we going to talk about how hungover I got 5 years ago?
No, but I do want to give a RIP to Indiana Jones, though. I've hung out with him before, and he can definitely make the best of them. Pretty hungover.
I love Indiana Jones was one of my all-time. You know, I have such great memories and such great times with him, and I often catch myself thinking about how much, as I'm sure we all do, we miss his influence, his presence in this market. He was just extra special.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, no doubt. What else you got?
I have my own theory on Anthony Richardson and the Colts, and I want you to give me like 30 minutes before you tell me I'm completely wrong.
30 minutes?
No, before you, okay, so consider this, put some thought into it. I think when Anthony Richardson tapped his helmet, he didn't pull himself out for a play. I think he pulled himself out of the game, and I think he pulled himself out of being the starting quarterback for the Colts. Now, what I think is happening is I think he got overwhelmed. I think he's over his head. I think, honestly, he's quite broken, and he told the coaching staff that he's not ready to start being a quarterback for the Colts.
You think he did it? What leads you to this theory? I'm just out of curiosity. What did lead you to this particular theory?
Think about every scenario, John. All the strings, all the pieces that don't match up. If you consider he himself is the reason why he's not starting, it connects all the dots. Think about all the questions that we've asked Shane, and he's not giving us the right answer. Who's our quarterback? Well, Flacco's got experience. He's a starter. He's a professional. He can do that. No answers are going to say he's better. They don't have any other option. I don't think Anthony's wanting to start for us right now. I think he pulled himself out, and the only answer is to play Flacco.
Hey, it's a theory. It's a theory, Greg. It is.
That's why I said get it 30 minutes, John.
I got it. So I can't get my quick judgment, my quick reaction right here. Would you mind?
Give me one now and then another in 30 minutes.
I got you. Hey, man, thanks for the call, Greg. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Now, here's the one now is there's no way in hell he wants to be sitting behind a 39-year-old man right now. And that these guys all have tremendous egos to get to where they go, and this one was damaging. And that he would like nothing more than to be out there. I also think he views himself differently. I don't think he views himself playing as badly as he's actually played. What do you call himself? Like 1 of 1 or something like that? That's not a guy. That's not a guy that would scream at me, yeah, you know what? I'm going to check myself out of the game, even though I guess he did once. I'll come back in 30 minutes, I think, with maybe more of an unclouded thought, more of a well thought out reason as to why I wouldn't buy that. Hey, by the way, I found out who won the $1,000 gift certificate from Moyer Fine Jewelers for week number 10. If your name is Wes Ruile, Reille, is that how you spell Ruile?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Spell it again?
Now, where I'm from in Greene County, that'd be Ruille. Reille. Wes is a big-time listener to the show. He just won a $1,000 gift certificate from Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Wes, are you listening right now? Damn straight. So Reille does not equate to Ruile? Probably not. Way to go, Wes. I'm excited for you, my brother. Now, if you did not win, Going to have another opportunity for you. In fact, 2 more opportunities for you to get a $1,000 gift certificate, courtesy of Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel.
According to the internet, it's real.
Real?
Yeah.
Wes Real.
That may be wrong, but that's what the internet has told me.
I like it. Rue Eiley would not be it. Skivvies writes this. My Steepo story, waiting after a game back in the day by the locker room. Some pace mates walked by, and the guy asked, Steepo, they work for you, right? Ha, 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 so dumb. Steve Stepanovich, there were moments in which, in the day, he would work great during these Movember months because he had one sweet-ass 80s mustache. It's nice. Nice stash. So Wes Real is how we're going with it. Hey, JMV, I can see Greg's point. Look at Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence. Had one good year, got paid. AR keeps himself shelved and healthy till next year and has a good stretch, and then we start extension talks. Hey, Greg, somebody's on your side right there with your theory. I think it's outrageous. Somebody's on your side. My man Daryl's at 239-1070. Noted Lions fan. Cannot wait till the Lions invade the week after next. Hello, Daryl.
Hey, John. How you doing? Congratulations on your weight loss also. Good job.
Wait, I know that you're along for the ride on this, too. Where are you presently?
Down 72 pounds. I've gone from a 64 pair of pants to a 52 pair of pants since June 16th.
My man, I am so incredibly proud of you.
We're working it, brother.
We're all getting that health in order, aren't we? Yes. Yep. I'm just doing it with Premier Weight Loss and Daryl's. Obviously, I'm doing it for my health as much as you are. My blood pressure was wild. Absolutely wild this time last year, and I laughed about it. Went, I think I dropped in a couple of different times. I'll get enough sleep when I'm dead from Sam Elliott with Roadhouse. And then, unfortunately, like 45 minutes later, he was up on the bar dead. So, yes, I had to do something about it. I felt compelled to no longer use that quote and do something about it.
Well, first of all,
yes.
Where are you going to be this Friday and the following Friday to try to win those elusive Lions tickets?
Friday, Whiskey Business, Southside, Southport Road. I don't know where I am a week from Friday, but Whiskey Business, Southside, Southport Road, Bud Light Blue Friday, this Friday.
Okay. Also, I think the Colts shouldn't have drafted Richardson in the first round, maybe a second or third round. You know, he only played 7 games or 13 games in college. Just don't think he has the tools ready enough to start in an NFL team.
Yeah, there are a lot of theories out there, right? And it's like funny too, Daryl. People say, "Hey, you know what? How can this be a failure for the organization if he doesn't work out? Because, what else was there to draft? I mean, Will Levis or, Herndon Hooker or whatever. And to me, Daryl, it doesn't matter. If you whiff on number 4, it's going to be your ass at that level. It just will, especially with a quarterback.
They should have just played another year of revolving quarterbacks and drafted another quarterback the following year. I mean, they've done it for the last 10 years. What's one more year? And I know the fan base is starting to get really pissed against the GM, but, it's been this way for the last 10 years. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better.
Everything always transitions into a mess around here too, doesn't it? And it's not just us in the media. It's not the fans that started. They do it to themselves.
And I know what this fan base is going through. I've been a Lions fan since 1962.
Sure.
And we haven't even won a Super Bowl yet. You guys have, but it just looks like the same thing. Groundhog's Day over and over again. And Irsay's got to step up and put his foot down and stop this general manager from ruining this team.
Well, the 8th year would be the final year in this case, as it would stand right now. And Daryl, thank you very much. I'll look for you on Friday, Southport Road, Whiskey Business.
I'll see you Thursday.
You got it. Bud Light Blue Friday on Friday. Thursday, Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. District Tap on the north side with me and Brent Halverson. And the ladies will probably say yes or no some point before. And Chad Buchanan, Pacer General Manager, joins us live there coming up on Thursday, too. The point I was going to make is there have been some arguments around, and I had cited Jeff Saturday for having one in particular about this being a Ballard motive because Ballard wants to see Joe Flacco to save his job, and I think that's 100% inaccurate because to save your job, if you're Chris Ballard, you would want to see your 4th overall selection be playing to a level in which you expect or you want to see or you have interest in continuing with. That is what's going to save the gig, not Joe Flacco swooping in and, you were almost in the postseason, but you weren't. It would be that of Richardson. That's why I don't put this on him. By the way, Wes James just sent me a message on X. Wes, and I pronounced it Ruili, which is incredibly wrong. What'd you say?
Oh, I'd have to pull.
Don't worry about it. It's actually pronounced Roy.
Roy?
He says nobody else gets it right either.
Oh, well, I don't feel as bad.
Wes Roy. So it's pronounced Roy, and I went with Ruili. I was a little off.
I went with Real.
Real.
Yeah.
You were closer than me. Ruili's not even, that is very Greene County pronunciation right there. Hey, Wes, $1,000 gift certificate. How about that? Courtesy of Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Shout out to Dan Moyer putting this thing together. We've got 2 more weeks of it. Week number 11 is coming up on Thursday. You got to play along. I'll tell you when to sign up. JMV, so if it isn't Ballard, if it isn't Steichen or Irsay making the call, who is it? I initially thought that it was Irsay. Everybody's kind of leaning against that. Now everybody seems to think, IU Sears, that it's Shane Steichen. And it's Shane Steichen teaching a lesson. I don't know why Shane Steichen would do that either. Seems like Shane Steichen would also, because he was a pretty big part of the selection of Anthony Richardson as well. It's also been noted that maybe Shane Steichen has recognized that Richardson's not any good. He doesn't believe him to be the guy, thus does not want to see any more from him. Again, I don't believe that to be the case. And maybe ownership, maybe Irsay has absolutely nothing to do with it, but we've seen fingerprints before. If you were Steichen, why would you not want to see this right now? I mean, the belief was even prior to all this mismanagement stuff going on that he was going to be able to survive this anyway. He was like the golden child in all this. So why would he feel compelled? And if he did feel compelled, I mean, look at him. 2 games up below 500. It clearly hasn't worked out an ounce. So what has been gained? Everything just looked worse. So, yeah, until I'm absolutely proven otherwise, I went with the ultimate decision maker there. But you tell me why Ballard would want, the Flacco thing to work out more than the Richardson thing. The year number 8 and so much disappointment. None of this really makes sense with the exception of the ultimate decision maker. If you ask me, a long-term punishment? Sat down because, what? And again, the one thing is just if there's something else that we're unaware of. I know all the lateness stuff and the lack of professionalism and, the leadership being questioned, all of that. And obviously the fact that he's not been able to throw well at all. But is there something else that also has led to this benching, which now has turned into, obviously there's something happening. I would have to say much more than just, hey, you know what? You've got to be here on time. All right, 239-1070. Who is next on the agenda here? Bill is on line 4. Billy, am I going to see you twice this week?
At least once. I'm working on the business, but
damn right, buddy. Damn right. Chad Buchanan on Thursday, too. I have coaxed him into coming out and joining us for a live show, which may be the one and only time I'm able to do it.
Well, then we got to pack the place then. That's all there is to it.
Yes.
But I wanted to say a couple things. First of all, Deion Sanders is not going to be Coach of the Year in the NCAA, but he is going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys after they fire Mike McCarthy. I heard Rex Ryan say that on television, and I agree with that too. And, who likes to make a splash and get in front of the cameras more than Jerry Jones? And Deion Sanders as a coach of the Dallas Cowboys would not only be a big splash, but he'd probably get immediate respect from the players down there, and they wouldn't be complaining about as much as they are right now. But I want to talk a little bit about AR and
go ahead.
I've heard people talk about Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, but they got to remember that Peyton Manning's dad was an NFL quarterback, just like Andrew Luck's dad was an NFL quarterback. So that's a heck of an advantage to have when you're a rookie. And plus, Andrew Luck's first year, Reggie Wayne held a off-season training camp down in Florida, and Andrew Luck was there with all the receivers, and so he had a veteran working with them right away. And then by the time they got in the preseason and onto the real season, he had gotten some really, really good work and was familiar with all the players that he was going to have around him. So those are two big advantages that Anthony Richardson didn't have. But let me flash back to 1974 and Watergate hearings. The way that they got to the bottom of everything was they came up with a phrase that said, follow the money. Follow the money and you'll get to the root of the cause. And I followed the money, and the root of the cause is Anthony Richardson is getting terrible advice from his agent. And try to Google his agent's name and see if you can find it. This guy is as undercover as Osama bin Laden was.
I believe his rep is Melvin Bratton, the former or one of the group of reps that he has is Melvin Bratton, who is the former Miami Hurricanes running back that has been on this show before. Matter of fact, I was a big time fan of them back in the day.
If that's the case, then I just could not find it. But who would suffer the most from Anthony Richardson getting injured again and not making it through his rookie contract? The agent. The agent's the one that suffers. The agent is the one that doesn't benefit from any kind of development that Anthony Richardson gets. And I agree that we should play him the rest of the way, or the Colts should play him the rest of the way, and give him developmental reps, because that's how you develop as a quarterback, it seems like to me.
I love that you brought up the Watergate, because I loved White House Plumbers on HBO. That was a great miniseries. Woody Harrelson and Justin Theroux as G. Gordon Liddy was one of the greats right there. And I don't think people talked about it as much as they should. It was outstanding. I miss it. It was great.
Outstanding series.
Yes, it was.
And also, I got to reference another movie, North Dallas 40.
Oh, North Dallas 40. God.
In North Dallas 40, they investigated Nick Nolte. And I think that when Anthony Richardson, I think my theory, this is just a theory. I got nothing to back it up. I do have one kind of flimsy source, but he's on Facebook and he only posts about 2:00 in the morning. But I think that they, as part of their due diligence and part of what a lot of corporations do, is that they kind of may not investigate, but they evaluate players when they're not playing, and to see what they're doing.
The North Dallas, you had me at North Dallas 40 reference. I do have to hit a break, Billy. I'll see you coming up on Thursday, too. The North Dallas 40 reference is awesome. Whenever I call it a business, you call it a game. Whenever I call it a game, you call it a business. That is, simply put, the greatest football film of all time. North Dallas 40. Now, I would agree. Although, if you look back then, it's more believable. Let's say, for example, when that was made in 1979, it was more believable. Nick Nolte as wide receiver did, I think, have a little bit of Fred Biletnikoff in him. But Mac Davis as the star quarterback, that was a stretch. That was a bit of a stretch. He was supposed to be like the Don Meredith. Like North Dallas 40 was supposed to be like the Don Meredith-led Cowboys. God, what a great movie. I would advise you this. If you get a minute and you can find it, and I'm assuming you can in this world now, if you've never seen North Dallas 40, and I know I'm talking to James over there, there's no way in hell he's ever seen it, watch it. There are some things that are incredibly and completely outdated, and there are some things that I'm sure would still be major storylines today. What a great film. Except for Mac Davis as the starting elite-level quarterback. Like, Mac Davis looks like he probably had some, like a Flacco day. Like in Minneapolis, Mac Davis probably had that. What a great film, though. Quick one, we'll come back. You stay right there. We got some Pacer conversation upcoming as well, and it is projections for the top 12 in college football, the playoff coming up later on tonight. Where will the Hoosiers be, and why would anybody in their right mind not automatically vote Curt Cignetti for Coach of the Year in college football? Is it crazy to even have that debate at this moment? It is. We'll hit that next.
The Ride with JMV.
Are you kidding? You think I'd join his crummy snobatorium? But his whole place sucks. That's right, it sucks.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
For us to go, there's going to be challenging conversations and there's going to be uncomfortable situations. But through that, it can take us to better places. So he immediately came in and talked to me, and we had a visit. And I said, Kenny, just stand by what you said. You believe it. And, you know, it might be enough discomfort that it takes us to a better place, and then we move on. And, you know, we had good conversations. I said, now, you know, there's ways to go about doing it, but I don't think he crossed the line.
So Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator, a little bit earlier today regarding the remarks of Kenny Moore after the loss to Buffalo at Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Show has been enjoyable today. Rick Venturi coming up at the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow, so be ready for that. There's going to be a lot of stuff to discuss with Rick coming up on tomorrow's show. That's in the 5 o'clock hour. I think Bowen's going to be here after 4. I got Rob Blackman. I got to talk to Rob. And at some point, I just think it's still a little bit too early. I'm going to get Matt on here, Matt Painter, a couple of different times. It is highly unusual. And it felt like the Twilight Zone watching Purdue and Yale last night, if you did, because it had been so long watching a Purdue game where so easily guards maneuver into the paint and finish not at the rim, but under the rim, as frequently as went down last night, and that is obviously the without Zach Edey effect. It was just weird. It's so many times. I don't know if I had seen that, if you're talking about a cumulative effect over the past 2 years, as many times as I saw it last night, Yale doing it. Now, part of that is they got around guys pretty easily. But the biggest part is you don't have that force, and obviously you know that, and you're going to get used to it. You're going to have to get used to it, and so will Matt Painter. But it was weird to watch last night. That's for sure. I mentioned a little bit earlier, Obi Toppin, who missed that game on Sunday against the Knicks, is going to be listed as questionable coming up. That's tomorrow night in Orlando. Pacers go Orlando and then back at home against Miami. I believe that is the start of the Emirates Cup, NBA Cup. Yeah, the in-season tournament stuff. I think that their 4 games, correct me if I'm wrong on this, James, the Heat, the Bucks, the Pistons, and the Raptors, that's their group right there, I believe. I believe that's their group. And it worked out great for them last year. And it's funny, when somebody was like coming at me regarding Myles today. You guys remember in the championship game last year, it was on a Saturday night. Nah, the JMV takeover wasn't on. It was in Christmas music hiatus. And I'm at home watching it. They play the Lakers in Vegas. And it was a bad game for Myles. And then Myles got mad and, you know, didn't want to cuss on TV, didn't want the cameras to catch him. Remember, everybody started saying he went to the locker room and quit on the team or something. That's just the type of jackassery that really gets on my nerves right there. That's an extra special level of jackassery and stupidity that I think you all, including myself, should avoid. Is so stupid. He just quit on the team. Yeah, he did. Nah, man, he's dropping a bunch of F-bombs, and he probably doesn't want the cameras of ABC catching him drop a bunch of F-bombs because he just got worked over by Anthony Davis. That could be it, too. These guys are highly competitive and you think you have some pride in whatever you do, especially sporting-wise? Or let's just say, for example, you think or you thought you had pride in what you do in sports, what you did in sports? Times that 1,000 at that level. That always made me laugh. Flying Toasters tickets we have before the end of the show here, right? That's on the 16th of November. The Paramount Theater in Anderson. By the way, that's going to be a great show. I just saw where they're having, James, a Yacht Rock extravaganza up there that I'm going to have to attend. I think coming up in January.
Really?
Remember England Dan and John Ford Coley?
Mm-hmm.
Well, England Dan's dead. But John Ford Coley is still with us.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be doing their hits. Peter Beckett Player is going to be there. Baby, come back. And Ambrosia.
You going to get on stage for that?
I've got to get on stage for that. That's some good stuff. That's coming up in January. Flying Toaster is going to be a great show. Great local band coming up on the 16th at the Paramount Theater in Anderson. Got your tickets before the top of the hour. Let's go. BTR 239-1070 is on here. Hello, BTR.
How are you, JMV?
Go ahead, brother.
Greetings from Northwest Hamilton County.
Well, the fantastic Northwest Hamilton County. Is that in the general vicinity of Sheridan?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, indeed. What do you got, buddy?
Pacers. Why do we beat the living hell out of every good team that we played in the playoffs last year and, mediocre play against the other teams?
It is something that they still are trying to shake, and that is called playing down to their competition. And it was awful a year ago. It was awful a number of times a year ago, and they did that on Friday night against Charlotte.
We have a great coach in Rick Carlisle. Why doesn't he?
Well, I will tell you this. I will tell you this. Going on a road to what is an incredibly sterile environment in Charlotte, and I'm not trying to give any excuses whatsoever because that game Friday night was awful. And LaMelo Ball is going to go off, and he went off. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, and even though I don't think they shot at a great percentage, they shot it at a high volume. And this Pacer team still will struggle at times, certainly with teams lesser than them, and at times struggling against two other things: closing games and then digging themselves out. Like when you're on the bad end of a run, like they were in the third and the fourth quarters, not being able to stop that via a timeout or a made bucket or a defensive stop, that sometimes will hamper this team as well. And these are all things that to be more consistent throughout the year that you have to iron out. There are a lot of excuses you can make, and I'm not trying to make any for them, but those are some of the reasons and all a part of what this team needs to learn to be better and to meet our expectations.
I love what Mathern is doing. He's kind of coming into his game as well as Tyrese.
No doubt. BTR got a run here. Anything else?
That's it. Love you, bro.
Right back at you, BTR from Sheridan, Indiana. Is this Bryston at 239-1070? Did I get that name accurately?
You got it correct.
Bryston, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I was just calling to say I think it's coming from Irsay. I think AR embarrassed the horseshoe, and we know how much that bothers Irsay. And him doing that tap out, and I think Irsay made the call down and say, we got to do something with this guy. He needs to sit and realize what's going on. Because I think that's the only way they're making this call that makes any sense. But, I mean, for AR's standpoint, he's sitting there making mistakes. It seems like he can't read a defense, but I never see him go over and look at a tablet ever to try to figure out what's going on. It seems like he's playing flag football still. Hey, let me avoid the first rusher and then just chuck it down the field. So it would be great to see him learn, but I'm afraid it's going to take him 2-3 years to learn it. And I don't know if he has that time.
Yeah, he's sure. Yeah. Bryston, he doesn't have anywhere near that time. You call any time, Bryston. Thank you very much. Nowhere near that time. This is Jason from the Flying Toasters.
Hi, John. How are you, buddy?
Jason, how are you? You guys going to rock the Paramount Theater in Anderson the 16th?
We are, but here's the thing. I don't know if anybody's hipped you to this, but it's actually our 20-year anniversary show.
20 years? I thought you guys were all like 22 years old. That can't be true.
Well, that's when we started. No, these trips around the sun are adding up, but no, it's 20 years. And here's the neat thing about it, too, John. We have all the singers and all former players coming back to the band too. So it's just going to be a wonderful celebration.
That is great. Well, you guys, I'm talking you up here, talking you up on the JMV Takeover. You have been friends of the show for such a long time, and you know how much I love local. And you guys, it's awesome to see you celebrating as a local musical staple in the fashion on the 16th in which you are.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night. So I appreciate you chatting that up. But here's what I'm thinking. So you're giving away a couple tickets, right?
I am. Yes.
You know what? How about whoever's getting the tickets tonight? Let's bump them up to the second row.
Let's give them second row tickets, right? Let's do that. Well, you go ahead and make the call. We're going to do caller 9 at 239-1070 right now, and you tell the right caller, the correct caller, what they win, Jason.
I'm in. Sounds great, buddy.
Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Jason
of the Flying Toasters. He's going to bump you up to the second row at the Paramount on the 16th. I don't know how we figured that out. Just, James, remember that. Bumped up to the second row from Jason of the Flying Toasters. It's November the 16th, the Paramount in Anderson, which, by the way, is a fantastic location. Number 9 at 239-1070. You're going to get those tickets, and according to Jason of the Flying Toasters, bumped up to row number 2. I mean, hell, by the time the show's over, you may get up on stage and sing something with him. You never know. Number 9 at 239-1070 on the other side. Colts Daily Update coming up top of the hour. That and more on this busy Tuesday. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Now, who won those tickets? James over there. Upgraded to the second row, too.
Glenn Richardson.
Glenn Richardson. Shout out to Glenn. It'll be a good time on the 16th. 2 more JMV takeovers, 16th and the 23rd. And then Christmas music hiatus. Of course, that's on P105.7. And again, Wes Roy today wins the $1,000 gift certificate from Moyer Fine Jewelers. And I'm assuming that's bad news for everybody else. You know, the tons of people that participated. However, the good news is Dan Moyer of Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel reached out to me yesterday and says he not only wants to do Week 11, but also Week 12. So you're going to have 2 more opportunities to play the role of incredible hero this holiday season with a $1,000 gift certificate courtesy of Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. We do that with Week 11 coming up on Thursday. The District Tap, Northside, Clearwater Crossing. Brent Halverson, our betting analyst, will be there. And you may want to come by, especially if you're a Pacer fan, because General Manager at some point, Chad Buchanan, will be a part of that show coming up on Thursday, live with us at the District Tap. So I can't wait for it. Listen, Chad, I think Chad should bring everybody else. Can he bring Kevin and bring Rick? Just bring everybody. It'll be a good time coming up on Thursday. The District Tap, it's a Clearwater Crossing on the north side. But again, back-to-back weeks, Week 11 and 12 now, with the added part from Moyer Fine Jewelers of the possibility that you win $1,000 in a gift certificate from Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. I'll let you know when the picks are up there, and you can sign up and be ready to win. All right, 239-1070. The show coming up tomorrow is going to be absolutely can't miss. I shall explain in a second. Our guy Fulton is on hold right now. Fulton, hello.
Hello, John. How are you?
Fulton, how is the ukulele doing, buddy?
Doing all right. I broke a tiny little string of it.
You broke the string on your ukulele? Wow.
Yeah, I got to get a new one.
All right. Can you string your own ukulele?
Well, for some reason, it was not been working right.
How many strings are on a ukulele, Fulton? How many?
Let's see. There is like 5 strings.
5 strings. So you're 4 strings. So yeah, you're just going to let that other finger just kind of dangle and hang a little bit. Just go with 4. Yeah.
Exactly.
Go with 4. What else you got, buddy?
Well, I just called for the contest yesterday.
Oh yes, you're going to see the flying. You won the Flying Toasters tickets yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Well done out of you, buddy. Well done.
I'm a huge Flying Toasters fan, so I've been listening to them for a long time.
Well, Jason will love to. Actually, you may. Who knows what happens? Jason may reach out to you. He's listening right now. That's a big anniversary show for him. That's a big deal, man. I'm glad you're going.
Yep, I need to see if Jason will let me sing on stage.
I can't promise you anything. What would you want to sing up there, Fulton?
Well, let's see. I think I'm going to be singing Wagon Wheel by D.S.
Yeah, Wagon Wheel. I was hoping you would say, She Blinded Me with Science, and you could be the Science.
Yep, that would be good.
All right, buddy. Good to hear from you.
Well, I just sent you the message on Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
For you to come to my concert.
You got it. Thank you, Fulton.
You're welcome.
Our guy Fulton right there was a winner on Monday. Jason going to get him up on? No, I don't know. I can't speak for Jason and the band, the Flying Toasters. Big Glenn was the winner. Big Glenn's going as well. That's good to hear. JMV, I love the follow the money caller. I need to be friends with that guy. That's Bill. Well, you need to come out to a show. Bill comes to almost all our live shows. JMV, I think I've sent this to you before. Richardson is a me-first player that has not been putting in the efforts, and the tap-out was the straw that broke the camel's back. They had to do something to let him know it needed a change, and that was their only option. I could buy that. I could buy that, too. Thank you, Michael, for it. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show today. Per usual. James, great job out of you. Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com. Doesn't necessarily believe in many of my theories, but he damn straight should, and he wants me to stop getting in arguments with people on X, and I just had to explain to him they're not arguments. Spitting facts. Or I put a cap on it, or whatever the hell that means. Right there, put a cap on it.
No cap.
No cap. Greg Rakestraw also a little bit earlier. Tomorrow's show, 5 o'clock hour. Can't miss. Rick Venturi's going to be here, and he'll be fired up and ready to go, I promise, coming up tomorrow. Colts Daily Updates on the other side. Sit tight with me right here. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.